Merry Christmas. I'm ReMax Realtor Scott Garrison.
And I am Diana Sacoto with ReMax Town & Country. From our family to yours, we wish you a spirit of community, generosity, and kindness during this year's Christmas.
So where did many of the Christmas traditions here in the United States really come from? Well, in large part, they came from the Victorian Englishman Charles Dickens. So every year we see some version of the story of A Christmas Carol, first written in 1843 by Charles Dickens. You know, the one with Scrooge and the three visiting ghosts. Marley was dead. But did you know this story didn't describe many of our Christmas traditions? It actually created them. So before Dickens' tale in 1840s, Christmas in England was a pretty subdued and mostly religious-only affair due to England's Puritan roots. The holiday lacked the festive fervor we associate with it today. When Charles Dickens originally wrote The Christmas Carol, he wasn't describing Christmas traditions from his childhood or the English culture. He was making them up into a new version of what he thought Christmas could be, should be, ought to be.
The way Christmas is celebrated, as Scrooge learned in his book, became so popular from the very first day of its first publication in 1843, all the way to the countless versions we see every year now 160 years later. That we think that the Christmas season was always like it is now.
So how did the book A Christmas Carol influence society in the 1840s? Well, here are just 5 traditions that were created in the book A Christmas Carol. Number 1, singing Christmas carols. So did Dickens start the caroling tradition? Well, not exactly. But by the time Dickens was around, remember this is the 1840s, caroling was seen as old-fashioned and stuffy. However, when Dickens portrayed carols and carolers as integral to the holiday spirit, caroling quickly came back into fashion, and Christmas songs have never been more popular. Just ask Mariah Carey.
2, pay vacations for the holidays. It might not seem like it at first glance, but A Christmas Carol was a strong message of labor reform.
So here's a Christmas Carol summary of this topic of labor reform. Dickens drew such a frightening image of what would happen to rich bosses if they didn't give their employees time off during Christmas, that it wasn't long before paid holiday leave became the norm. That came from Dickens.
3, Christmas trees. Christmas trees have been around forever, right? Not really, at least not in England and in US. Prince Albert brought a Christmas tree over from Germany in 1840.
People weren't really thrilled about Christmas trees until Charles Dickens wrote about the trees in A Christmas Carol. Since he wrote about them being a cozy center place where families could gather together, people have been quick to set up trees of their own ever since, in England and in the USA.
Number 4, Christmas cards and gifts.
Since he wrote about it in the book at that point and ever since, giving gifts has been a huge part of the season, with spending on gifts now exceeding $1 trillion each year in the USA. Number 5, the holiday spirit. A Christmas Carol, the book, wasn't just about giving and receiving gifts, it was about the spirit behind giving. The spirit of community, generosity, and kindness was new and never before associated with the holiday season before this book.
Now, 160 years later, this Christmas season here in Orlando, we wish you a spirit of community, generosity, and kindness, now and throughout the coming year.
Or as Tiny Tim famously said, God bless us, everyone.